Hey plant friends! Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Darylyn, and today I have a topic that was specially requested by one of my viewers. Thank you so much for the excellent idea. I had posted a little what questions would you like me to address during a repot with me on my community tab, which is so awesome to have now. And one of my lovely viewers said specifically they would like me to talk about bacterial and fungal spots. Now, I do not pertain to be any kind of expert in this topic, but I would say I have some kind of like tips and tricks as far as dealing with bacterial and fungal spots go. And I'm happy to share that with everyone. I think that this topic is actually important enough and in-depth enough that it really needs its own video, and it's just gonna be better to do it this way rather than gloss over it really quickly during a repot with me. So that is what we will be talking about today. Bacterial and fungal spots are super unsightly and extremely annoying, especially when they come to afflict your favorite plants. The other really annoying thing about bacterial and fungal spots is that it's not always really obvious exactly what you're dealing with. I see this constantly online in a lot of the plant people groups, constant posts of help, what is this, how do I treat it? And in that post, every single time without fail, there's always 30% of people saying it's thrips, 30% of people saying it's bacterial, 30% of people saying it's fungal. And for the most part, it's really difficult to actually tell what you've got going on. However, that does not mean that you can't do something, because there are quite a number of products out there that cover multiple issues as far as treatment goes. And there's also preventative measures that you can take that will work just as well on your plant, no matter if it's fungal or viral or pest or whatever. So I'm just going to tell you kind of what I do. I think that as of recently, I've been having a lot more success. So still important to take these with a grain of salt, because this is just my anecdotal experience and I'm not an expert. I'm not a botanist. I'm not a plant veterinarian. I don't know if that's a thing. Is there such thing as a plant doctor? I don't know. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so my first tip for managing and preventing fungal and bacterial spots on your plants would be to keep your collection at a manageable level, enough so that you have enough time to keep your leaves clean and inspect them every so often fairly regularly. Because a lot of the time, just keeping your leaves dusted off and maybe showering them every week or so. I actually like to wipe down a lot of my leaves with the Huggies allergy-free all-natural baby wipes. Lots of other people will occasionally clean their leaves with, a soap and alcohol and water solution. Some people will use a neem oil solution. I'm not really here to tell you what is the best thing to use, but I do preventatively clean my leaves off every so often, and I will tell you more about that product that I use later on. Keeping your collection manageable enough that you can keep everything clean and also inspect things regularly so you can see if there's anything that looks funky popping up is going to be hugely helpful for you. Trust me. I used to have a really small collection, and then I got this wild idea of having a plant shop, and now I have a ton of plants that I'm responsible for. Even though my personal collection is still fairly small, it's much, much easier to stay on top of things when you only have to monitor a small amount of plants. The next tip is really important, and that is to have good airflow. Now, this can mean a lot of different things and can be accomplished a lot of different ways. Obviously, if you have your plants outside, bully for you, that should work just fine. Most people take care of this with just using a fan. I'm super lucky in my bedroom. I have a ceiling fan, and the plants in here have always done really well, and I think that's part of it. But it's really important to have good airflow. It's going to help any moisture that gets onto the leaves evaporate off of it more quickly. And there's even some kind of anecdotal conjecture out there that leaves moving and leaves shaking actually helps them grow. I know a lot of people swear by shaking their fiddle leaf figs when they water them. I've found that the plants definitely tend to like enough airflow that their leaves will kind of like sway in the wind. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because most of these plants would be growing in their natural habitats outside and would probably get breezes and whatnot throughout the day. Good airflow is definitely going to benefit you. And of course, as with anything, an ounce of prevention is always better than a pound of cure, because the unfortunate thing about bacterial and fungal spots is that there's no healing them. Once you have them, they're there to stay as long as that leaf stays. And the only way to get rid of them is to let the new growth grow in and then just cut off the old leaves. So airflow is a huge part of that. Next, and I think this is a really, really underappreciated, little talked about aspect of good leaf health, is you need to be giving your plants good quality water. I don't know why this is that water quality just isn't talked about anywhere near as much as soil mixtures are, but honestly, your soil mixture is only about as good as your water, because there's things in tap water that can make it difficult for the plants to absorb nutrients. There are many plants out there that will actually get burned from things like chlorine, fluoride. Calatheas are a great example. You absolutely have to give them filtered water at the very least, otherwise they will burn. I've also noticed that my anthurium in particular really do not like it when I am lazy and give them tap water. I definitely got a little bit lazy with prepping my water there for a while, and it definitely showed, especially on my queen anthurium. I really think that if I had continued giving her the filtered pH balanced water that I used to always and now continue to do, I don't think I would have incurred as much damage. You can usually tell that a leaf is suffering from damage from the water if damage starts at the tip or it kind of starts around the edges of the leaves. So when plants are not getting good water or they're not absorbing enough nutrients because the water, the pH is out of whack or whatnot, they're more susceptible to things like fungal spots and bacterial spots. This is actually also what Ivan from Equigenera said was the absolute secret to perfect anthurium leaves when I talked to him in our series that you can go check out if you want to. I asked him what the secret was and he said, it's all about the water. Rainwater, rainwater, rainwater. That's what all of the plants in their nurseries get, which makes sense because they live in Ecuador, which is near a rainforest in the Amazon basin. So free water pours out of the sky all the time. However, if you live somewhere where you can't collect rainwater, like myself living in Southern California, the next best thing is fish water. Water from fish tanks is already pH balanced. It already has a lot of good nutrients in it because of the interaction between the fish and the water and the bacteria and the excrement and whatnot. And so I've definitely seen a lot of folks who have an aquaponics system or water with fish tank water have absolutely incredible, beautiful plants. And it has a lot of the same attributes as rainwater, namely the correct pH, and also all of those chemicals that kill plants are also really bad for the fish. So that is definitely the second best to rainwater. After that, I would say probably a reverse osmosis filter would be a very good thing to invest in, especially if you have a lot of expensive plants and you need to water them a lot. I unfortunately do not have access to any of those things at this time. However, I am planning on investing in a reverse osmosis filter, but as of right now, I'm just using my Brita filter. And then for the most part, I leave the water out on the counter, and I just noticed that the plants like that so much better than tap water. On top of it, I add nutrients in and I always pH balance the water down to slightly acidic. It really makes a big difference. I've noticed my leaves staying nicer, my leaves staying cleaner. I think having to deal with all those chemicals may make the plants more susceptible to leaf damage. So if you are currently just watering your plants with hose water or tap water and you're struggling with keeping the leaves nice, with browning, with bacterial spots, with fungal spots, just go buy a filter. Honestly, there's so many like really inexpensive options out there. You can get them that attach to your faucet, like the Pure filter. The Brita filter just goes in your fridge or wherever you want to keep it. There are also filters that you can put on your shower head that are designed to, filter out like hard minerals and whatnot for hair care. But I know that a lot of people really like to water their plants by putting them in the shower. So if that's something that you do, you actually can get a filter and put it on your shower. There's lots of options out there, but at the very, very, very least, you should be giving your plants filtered water. If you, for whatever reason, don't want to do that with the water in your tap or can't, there are places, even in the United States, even in developed countries where the tap water is not always safe to drink. You can also get distilled water or bottled water from your, local grocery store and use that as well. So water in general is definitely a topic for a much deeper dive. However, I just wanted to share the tricks and the knowledge that I've gained from talking to people who really know what they're doing. I believe also NSE Tropicals uses rainwater. And Ivan also told me that in some places like California where they don't get a lot of rain, they have reverse osmosis filtration systems that basically do the same thing for those leaves as the rainwater does for the plants that are grown in tropical places. So water is crucial for prevention. Make sure that you are treating your plants right and giving them water that is going to set them up to succeed. I swear by this. This is really important. I didn't used to think it was important. It's really important. Don't slack on it. If you're doing one annoying thing out of the way for your plants, make sure you're giving them good water. It honestly, I think, is more important than the soil that they're in or the substrate, because you can keep plants in substrates that have zero nutrients in them, like hydroponics, LECA, Perlite, pond, and whatnot. But if you are adding nutrients to that water and the water is good, I mean, they do fine. So water is definitely something you need to keep in mind. Now, the last tip I have prevention-wise regarding fungal and bacterial spots would be to preventatively treat your leaves every month or so with an antibacterial and antifungal product. Now, I really like to use Physan 20. I find it to be very effective. It is a bactericide, viricide, fungicide, so many things it kills. However, the downside on it is that it is a pretty toxic chemical and it comes to you in a concentrate and you have to dilute it. And it is maybe not what everyone wants to be doing if you have small children or pets in your house. When I handle Physan 20, I wear gloves and I also use a pipette so that I am not touching the solution. I'm not getting the solution anywhere near my hands, my skin, my clothes, and it's very precise and very easy to get the amount I need because it has measurements on the pipette, and then mix it down into a solution with water so that I can clean off leaves. I highly recommend Physan 20 if you're up for it because it really does work. I use it on my imported plants. I use it on my anthurium especially. It's also amazing for when you first start seeing the tiniest little shadow of a spot showing up. And this is why it's really important that you're inspecting your leaves fairly frequently, because if you catch the spots when they're just starting to kind of look like a little bit of a yellow shadow, you can basically stop them growing in their tracks. And Physan 20, in my experience, has done that. Now, that is not the only antibacterial, antifungal product out there. A lot of times people will recommend copper fungicide for things like fungicide spots on anthurium and philodendron. Sulfur fungicide is commonly recommended for use on rust fungus, which is a little bit different than the typical fungal spots you see on anthurium that are kind of the orangey yellow color, but that's a good one to have. And then there's always just good old-fashioned alcohol, water, soap solution as well. So it just kind of depends what you are prepared to deal with. I really like Physan 20 because in addition to, cleaning your leaves, fungal spots, bacterial spots, viricide, all that stuff, you can actually use the concentrate to clean the inside of your grow tent or your prop boxes or whatever have you where plants are, and there could be pathogens that could spread plant to plant. Physan 20 will work for that. And I also like to use it to treat rot. So very versatile all-around product, but it is definitely not something that you should keep carelessly or leave out around where someone who's not supposed to get into it could get into it. So those are my tips and tricks. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe for more planty content. Plus, it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. If you have any additional questions, feel free to leave those down below as well. I will try to answer as many as I can. And on that note, that is going to be it from me today. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.